So this is a sheep photogrammetric model of the skull, jaw, and each cervical bone in the neck. And you can see, this is it in Blender, and you can see if we zoom in a little bit, the skull and the jaw are whiter, sort of pinker than the vertebrae, which have a sort of greenish tint. And that's because I digitized them in different lighting environments. So the neck there, it's greenish. It was done on my small photogrammetry setup, whereas the skull and jaw were done in more natural lighting. So they don't match. And so we want to take the texture from the vertebrae, and we're going to use that color to adjust the color of the skull or the jaw. So we can view these here in Blender. You can also see the style of texture is different because I used mesh room for one and meta shape for the other. And one produces islands with black between them, and one kind of blurs the colors between each island. So let's pull the skull and the first cervical texture file into Photoshop. This will take a moment to load because I've been using whopping great big 8K or 16K textures and my computer is struggling. But you can see side by side here how different the vertebrae and the skull are in coloration. So we're going to match color, and we don't want to use any of that black that's between the islands of texture. So we're going to use the Magic Wand tool to select the black and then invert the selection with Ctrl-Shift-I. And now we've only got the colored portions selected. Let's make that a bit bigger for you. There you go. So then we make sure that image is selected there, the skull in this case, and then Image, Adjustments, Match Color, and then we set the source to be the C1 texture, and then we need to click that Use Selection so it ignores all the black, and that means our new image isn't going to be too dark, it isn't going to look funny. And there we go, and that's going to process for a minute. Again, these are high textures and my computer isn't quite up to snuff at the moment. But that's going to process, and that's going to change the color of the original texture file so that it matches a little more closely to the vertebrae. There we go, all done. And so now we just go to File, Save As, and I'll give this a different name. I'll add matched onto the end of it there, just so that we don't overwrite the original in case anything's gone wrong. We'll crank up the quality there, make sure it's a nice JPEG. You could of course save out as PNG and whatever takes your fancy. So there we go, and the difference is a bit more obvious in the files there. So if we go back to Blender, we can go here and we can just select the new texture, and it'll take a little while to load because I'm running out of video RAM at this point. But eventually that's going to go in, it's going to load up, and then the skull matches the vertebrae color better, and it's just the jaw that's standing out. And of course we can then go and do the same for the jaw. There we go. So you see there's a nice blend between the vertebrae and the skull, and now it's just the jaw that's standing out as a slightly different color. And exactly the same process would fix the jaw. All the details on going through this are on my website. I'll put the link in the description for the video. Hope that was helpful.